I'm just going to give like kind of a brief overview of our templating language Critty and how you can use it for creating REST connectors and some new features that we recently merged in. So for anyone who doesn't know, the REST connectors is a feature of the Hasura engine which allows you to modify the outgoing request or incoming response from your actions and event triggers. So what that means is that if you have some, third-party API that you don't have control over you don't have control over it, you can't change its schema, or previously you would have to use some sort of intermediate Lambda or whatever web server to sort of map the result from a from a Hasura action or an event trigger to whatever schema the third-party API needs to receive. But with REST connectors, you can now move that mapping into the Hasura engine by using this templating engine called Critty, which we've developed. So Critty is just a JSON templating language that is expression based. So it always evaluates to valid Critty, valid JSON. I'm assuming that you have a valid Critty expression. It always evaluates to a valid JSON expression. And it's a pretty small language. It doesn't have like variable binding or lambdas or anything like that. So it's pretty hard to write a Critty expression that's going to break. Really, the only real way would be a syntax error or invalid path lookup. But so now let me just really quickly show you a little bit of a live demo with it, and then I'll just the absolute basics, and then I'll show you the new features. So what we're looking at here is a request to the metadata API. I'm running Hasura locally, the open source version locally. This is on the main branch, and I'm calling the metadata API where we have this action called test webhook transform, which is something I use this all the time during development. It's a really helpful way to sort of simulate, give yourself like a simulated action or whatever for testing out your webhook transformation templates to make sure they're working as you expect. Basically, the way this works is you describe in the arguments, you describe a like dummy HTTP request that would be going out. You give it, for example, you could give it like a URL and a body, and you can also add, other parts to it, but this is enough for this demo. And then you provide a request transformation. And then it doesn't actually call this API, it just will perform this transformation on the described request here, and then the result will be just what the shape of the request that would have been sent out. So this is really nice for debugging things. So for example, right now I'm running it, and this is my URL, and this is a GET request by default. So I'm going to transform the request method to post. And I'm just going to leave, and I'm using a Critty template for the URL, and I'm also using a Critty template for the body. But these templates are just going to do a path lookup on the actual URL and the actual body. So the only thing this is going to do is change the method. And so I can see the method became post. Here's the body is the same as I had it over here, and the URL is the same. So now we can kind of mess with this a little bit. So for example, if we wanted to say, add some path here, we could change the URL. You can do just sort of standard string interpolation stuff here, where so now the path is /foo, or the URL. And then we can do, we can interpolate in something from the body. So like base dot, so we're in the body. Now we're going to the input dot arg1 dot username, and I maybe made a typo, invalid path. So input, sorry, base. Oh, sorry, that's a typo. It should be body here. Okay, so now we've got foo/Solomon here. And but that's a great, this is a great place to demo one of the new features. So one of the one of the, or well, actually, let's do that in the body. But so we can so I just, so if so say we wanted to just, let me get rid of this right here, but like we've so Critty provides a number of different operations that you can perform in addition to path lookup. Let's look at them. Let's look at them really quickly over here. So you can do path lookups. You can loop over arrays. You have conditional statements, and then we've added a couple of new features that I want to show you. So let's do that same path lookup, but let's put it in the body so it's a little bit easier to see. Bodies dot input dot arg1 username. So now the body is just my name. But oftentimes it's the case that that a REST endpoint will produce some there's variable, there's field, there can be optional fields or fields that aren't necessarily going to be available every time you call the request. So or sometimes even, or in the case of like an action or something, perhaps like some piece of data that's not always going to be available in here. So what we have, we've added a defaulting operator, which allows you to replace any missing value with some default value. So for example, what that means is that if we have a null value, then we can use the defaulting operator to replace it with true. And if this value was something else, like my name, you'll get your name. So that's pretty nice. So that means that if you have some sort of null value in your data, you can always have some sort of default value for it. And this operation is associative, so you can chain these if necessary. So this could be another lookup. This could be like some body lookup, and then you could body, and then you could chain it again and have a default value here or whatever. And it'll just cascade through these things. Or sorry, wrong operator, wrong symbol. But so then another useful thing is we've added a optional path lookup, which looks like this, where we have a question mark. And what that does is it's in a sense, it's a sort of way of catching an exception in the path lookup. Because currently, if you were to try to look up body dot input dot arg2, this is going to throw an exception. And so we're going to get an invalid path error. But if we use the optional lookup on arg2, then we should get a null there. And now you can chain that with the defaulting operator, and you could say if arg2 is invalid, then use arg1. And so now, because arg2 wasn't available, was not present, was undefined, we defaulted it to null with the optional lookup, and then we replaced it, we caught it and replaced it with null, and then we defaulted it to arg1. So we have this fallback behavior now. So we can this allows you to do a lot of really nice stuff, like dealing with like non-determinism in your data, like if you don't know that a field is present or if it's going to be null or not. And what else is new? So those are two pretty big features. There's also, we've also oh yeah, so sorry, so optional chaining also works for array lookups using the array square bracket syntax. So you can use that in either case. And then oh yeah, one more feature. So like so I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't know if anyone uses feature much, but there's this version 2 field here. And what we've done is we've decided that there's actually like, we've been thinking about how body transformations work. And really there's like a number of different things that you can do when operating on the body of a request. One of them is to perform like a template transformation using Critty. Another one might be to convert the format from or to build some other non-JSON body, such as like URL form encoded. Another one might be to just remove the body altogether. And so we've added, so in version 2 of the schema, we've added this envelope to body where you specify what type of action and then specific fields for that action. And in the branch I'm working on here, there's only 2 actions. There's transform and then remove. But we have another branch where we've added like a conversion for form URL encoded, and we'll probably add more in the future. But for example, if I do the remove action, then you just get a null body. You could do the same thing with a Critty template, but it's a little bit it's not as nice because you'd have to do this weird thing where you have a null value inside of a Critty template to get that, which is kind of weird. So we just have like, so instead we now have this explicit remove action. And we're thinking about other actions we can add. We have a branch where we've added form URL encoded transformations. And I'm trying to think about if it makes sense to do sequencing of these actions, such as like do a Critty template transformation on JSON and then convert it to form URL encoded. But yeah, there's a lot of possibilities there that could be interesting. And I'd love to hear back from any end users if you have thoughts or feedback on these features. So as usual, please submit any questions you have in the chat, or if you want, you can write an issue on the repo. We'd love to get feedback because this feature is for you guys. So thanks very much.